What's up, everybody? John the Morgile here, checking in for a new Flat Earth video for you. Hope you enjoy it. In this video, we're going to cover a single point which completely refutes the globe Earth theory, and we'll cover the most common rebuttal to this point. Depending on how you guys like the video, I'm planning to do a series of these where we'll just cover a single point, short and sweet, aiming for about 10 to 15 minute videos. So let's get right into it, and I hope you enjoy. While there are certainly details of the flat Earth model which need to be addressed and ironed out, the simple fact is that the Earth is very obviously flat and motionless, with or without a model which explains all astronomical observations. For a simple analogy, you can test a billiards table for curvature and rotational motion without a ruler and a speedometer. You can easily surmise that the billiards table isn't a spinning ball without knowing its exact dimensions or exactly how fast it's not spinning or orbiting around the room. While the world is similarly without curvature or motion, such a claim will certainly seem extremely ridiculous to any normal person who's never considered the prospect of a fixed planar world, primarily because we've all been thoroughly conditioned into the steadfast belief that the world is a spinning ball in outer space. This belief is so deeply ingrained into our subconscious, it's like second nature, unquestionable. The thought of a universe without infinite space filled with galaxies and solar systems and little spherical worlds is so far outside the realm of possibility for most people. Anyone so much as questioning this belief system, let alone disagreeing with it, is instantly considered to be mad, stupid, or disingenuous. Every single flat earther was raised in the very same system wherein it's taken for granted that the world is a spinning ball, and the vast majority of flat earth proponents indeed scoffed at the subject when we were first introduced to it. This is natural. And it's certainly not because there's a great deal of evidence for the spinning ball Earth, but instead our lifelong programming into the belief, which is instilled by the educational system while we're very young, and reinforced by various forms of media throughout our lives, and of course the official space agencies. In short, it's unthinkable to imagine a universe without infinite space laced with spherical worlds as a result of this indoctrination and lifelong programming. The flat and motionless Earth is the primary physical plane of reality, above which reside the mysterious heavenly luminaries, the sun, the moon, the stars, and the wandering stars, or the planets. So much of the ball Earth theory rests upon what is occurring in the heavens above. So it is important to address the heavenly luminaries. Now, it's believed that the circular objects in the sky are extremely distant and very large objects, although nothing could be further from the truth. The moon is a fascinating example of these objects for many reasons, but for the purpose of this video, it's an excellent reminder of just how wrong the ball Earth theory actually is. In the past few weeks, 3 or 4 different people have contacted me about one point in particular, which I'm happy to say that I came up with on my own accord. While it is satisfying to stumble upon an original ball Earth debunk, it can be a bit frustrating when nobody else seems to be talking about it. This is exactly why the people I just mentioned had contacted me. According to them, the point that I will describe here in a moment seems very straightforward and simple once you get it, yet for some reason none of the high-profile flat earthers are discussing it. Why is it, I've been asked, that a point so easily verifiable and observable by anyone who cares to look isn't in the quote-unquote mainstream flat earth discussions? To be honest, I really don't have an answer. Either it's more complex than I think and others simply don't get it, or perhaps it's so simple that others in the flat earth community think there must be something wrong with my logic here. So let me go over the proof and I'll let you decide. We're going to humor the globe earth theory here for this particular point in order to completely debunk the theory in one fell swoop. Many people on the other side of this argument scoff at this sort of tactic, as it doesn't prove the Earth is a motionless plane, it only debunks the globe. However, I would argue that in debunking the ball Earth theory, we provide an even more stable foundation for the argument for a flat Earth. While such enhancements are certainly not necessary to prove the world's lack of motion and curvature, they are important steps towards deprogramming others from the spinning ball belief system. While there is certainly a sufficient body of evidence which simply and unambiguously points to a motionless planar Earth, it's equally important to point out any problems we may find with the spinning ball theory itself. So, according to the ball theory, the moon's monthly phase cycle is caused by the variant positional relationship between the Earth, the moon, and the sun. It's claimed that the Earth orbits the sun around a singular plane, known as the ecliptic plane. The moon also orbits the Earth along the same plane, more or less according to the ball Earth theory, although the moon's plane of orbit is said to be offset to the ecliptic plane by about 5 degrees. When you extend the lunar orbit out nearly 250,000 miles, as they claim, this minor divergence of 5 degrees amounts to nearly 20,000 miles either north or south of the ecliptic plane. It's important that I mention this alleged orbital divergence, although it really won't make much of a difference in the grand scheme of things. So, the moon's phases are an excellent indicator of the current positional relationship between the Earth, the moon, and the sun, according to the ball Earth theory. During the full moon phase, the moon should be 180 degrees opposite the sun, according to an observer on Earth. During the no moon phase, the moon should be aligned to the sun, or on the same side of the Earth as the sun. And during either half moon phase, the moon should be on either side of the Earth. Quite simply, we can often see the moon rising and setting when it should be on the completely opposite side of the Earth, almost 250,000 miles underneath your feet. So, for one example, anyone who has paid attention can verify watching the full moon, or even 90% full moon, overhead during broad daylight. On the other hand, a very slight crescent moon, say 5 or 10% lit crescent moon, can be viewed during certain months during the middle of the night. Such observations are geometric impossibilities according to the very ball Earth theory. So, a bit of background is necessary to make this point as clear as possible. According to the ball Earth theory, visible space should be the area opposite the sun. Subtracting out the twilight hours, we can visualize this quite adequately using two-dimensional diagrams. And this is often argued against by ball Earth proponents who claim that we must use 3D renderings to depict this point. However, I disagree, mainly because there's really only one plane of action involved here, the ecliptic plane. As stated previously, the Earth moves along this singular plane, as does the moon, according to the ball Earth theory. The only divergence from the ecliptic plane would be the aforementioned 5-degree offset of the moon's orbit. However, this would not affect the problem unless perhaps you're making your observation from the North Arctic Circle during the northern summer solstice. Barring this sort of situation from the argument, as most of us will be making our observations from temperate or tropical latitudes, the moon's maximum divergence from the ecliptic plane will place it almost 20,000 miles north or south of the ecliptic plane. However, when the moon is supposed to be on the opposite side of the Earth from the observer, any observer who's not positioned in the Arctic Circle during its respective summer solstice will have no chance of gaining a line of sight towards the moon. At any rate, visible space will be defined here as the sky as observed from the night side of the Earth, or the side of the Earth opposite the sun. After an observer has allegedly spun around through the twilight zone, the sun will have set, and visible space will begin to pop into view. After we've lost sight of the sun, the last thing we should expect to see overhead is the crescent moon, either waxing or waning, it really makes no difference. This is a geometric certainty, since the crescent moon should be on the day side of the Earth. The argument involving the moon's offset to the ecliptic plane is absolute folly. Even if the moon happened to be at its maximum divergence from the ecliptic plane at this point, viewing the crescent moon simply couldn't happen. Perhaps there's room for an observer positioned within the Arctic Circle during its respective summer solstice to view the moon over the north side of the Earth, although this defies common sense and basic geometry. We view the moon rising and setting allegedly due to the Earth spinning beneath the moon's current position plus or minus 5 degrees along the ecliptic plane. To make the claim that the moon can be viewed while it's on the opposite side of the Earth, almost a 250,000 miles underfoot, due to its orbital divergence from the ecliptic plane is just absolute nonsense, but it really is the only possible argument which globers can muster against this very basic and irrefutable proof that was just described. So the next time you see a full moon rising and setting well overhead during daylight hours, remember, this debunks the globe Earth theory. The next time you see a slight crescent moon rising and setting well overhead in the middle of the night, remember, this also debunks the globe Earth theory. We will surely see tons of half-baked arguments against this point. Insults claiming that I'm stupid, crazy, and just don't understand how large space is and just how complex astronomy is, although we will never see any geometric, logical arguments against the point itself. Remember, however, this is simple geometry, and the further you place the moon, the larger you make space, the worse the problem becomes for the globe Earth theory. There's really no room in the ball Earth model for the moon to be visible for an observer anywhere near the tropics, or perhaps better stated, any observer a substantial distance from the Arctic Circle, while the moon is on the opposite side of the Earth. Since the moon's phases are an excellent indicator of where the moon should be, according to the ball Earth theory, relative to the Earth and the Sun, it baffles me as to how all astronomers throughout history could have missed such a blatant and obvious problem with the heliocentric theory. There are other problems with the moon that will be addressed in future installments of this new series, but for now, this concludes today's video, the very first Flat Earth short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed. By the way, if you'd like to become a channel supporter, we really could use your help. You can become a Patreon supporter at www.patreon.com/themorgile for recurring monthly contributions for as little as $1 a month, or you can contribute to the channel efforts direct through PayPal at www.paypal.me/themorgile. God bless you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, spread the word, spread the world, and peace out, everybody.